Hello, and welcome back to the Late Bloomer Author Podcast. Now, believe it or not, this is episode 10. Now, I can't quite believe I'm saying that. It just seems incredible that I've done 10 episodes from something that I really was unsure whether I could do it, whether I wanted to do it, whether I had the confidence to do it. And, here I am, 10 episodes in, and you're still with me, which is fabulous, which is really nice. And I'm just thinking, there's 10 episodes, that's 10 Sundays, 10 different conversations about publishing, about writing your book, about AI, memoir writing, about leaving a legacy, and just basically showing that it's never too late. So when I started episode 1, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do a podcast. I wasn't sure if I was confident enough, and then there's all the technical bits. It's quite a lot to sort of set up, even though it is relatively easy to do. But I sat here with episode 1 with my microphone and my phone and computer and everything, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to start talking, and hopefully somebody will listen. So let's just hope for the best. We get people listen to the episodes, and here we are, episode 10. So. Thank you. Thank you for sticking with me. It really does mean a lot that you're still here today. What I want to do today is because it's episode 10 and things are going to slightly change, which I will talk about in a little while, but I wanted to reflect a little on where we've come from, what we've done, and tell you obviously about the exciting changes that are coming along. So in the previous 9 episodes, I think episode 1 is scary. The talking to a camera, not talking to a person, and hoping that there's somebody on the other side that's going to listen, which they did, which was great. But it was uncomfortable at first, I think. And you feel that I don't like my hair, I don't like my mouth, I don't like my eyes, I don't like the way I sound. And you're very critical of everything that you do, and I'm sure people who are watching, they don't notice those things, and I think that's a little bit of what it takes to get used to. I think first of all, by episode 2 I was feeling a lot better. Now episode 2, Chris joined me and we talked about how we started writing a book, and it was a 7-day challenge. And Chris saw it on Facebook and he said, let's do this 7-day challenge. It's write and publish a book in 7 days. And I'm like, it's a bit of fun. Why not? And so we sat side by side on the sofa, turning off the Netflix, went off and we concentrated. We both had a topic. Strangely enough, it was the same but different. So Chris wrote about cruising and I wrote about river cruising. But we both like cruising. So we both wrote these books, and then as we were getting into it, we were getting a little bit competitive. How many words have you written? How many chapters? What chapter are you on? Doing the book cover was great fun. I did mine the traditional, let's put some nice images into Canva, because I love Canva. And he was all, I'm going to try something on AI. And I must admit, his book cover was pretty amazing. It was all AI generated cruise ship in Santorini with a beautiful sunset and everything. It was stunning. But we published anyway. We did it. We did the 7 days, and it was strange watching, because obviously it was a big challenge, and there was quite a lot of people who joined, and there was a little Facebook group and things. The amount of people that we were on day 6 and day 7, and they were still trying to figure out what their topic was. No, that's not the point. It's just do it, go for it. So that's what we did. Episode 3. Now, episode 3 was all about trying to encourage you to leave a legacy, the legacy for your family. And it's not about what you leave in your will. It's about your story. It's not about chapters of your life, things that have happened to you, things that are important. Write them down, share them with people. And I reflected on a friend of mine, Sue, who I said was like a butterfly. She was never still. She just jumped from one thing to another. She was, raising money. She was organising events, and she was full of life and did everything. I used to say to her, because she's met so many incredible people, and I used to say to her, you need to write a book. And unfortunately, a couple of months ago, she died, and it hit me very hard. And I think this is, again, why it's encouraged me more to try and get people to do what they want to do, not what's expected of them, but something they've always wanted to do. And if writing a book is one of those things, just start. And I really genuinely want to help you. There's a school community, as I've said before. It's got lots of free training in there. And I would love you to join. Go into the community, do the free training, talk to me, talk to other people in there, ask questions. Let's get the community, is quite new. Let's get the community off the ground and running. So that was episode 3. Episode 4. I think episode 4 was more of an explanation as to, because my books I was writing, I did a book called The Relationship Code, and it was all about couples relationships. I'm not a therapist, but it was my years of experience and how I've lived through relationships and how I've looked on at other people's friends and family members and their relationships. So it was my take. It was how I thought, and it was all about communication and helping couples. I then did another one called The Confidence Code. And that was started because my daughter she's got no confidence. Since she's got no confidence, she has a terrific job. She's the head receptionist at a veterinarian. And she deals with customers all the time, and some customers are really shitty, I must say. And she does, she stands up for them, but in her own right, in her own personal world, she's so full of anxiety and self-doubt and everything. I thought, so I wrote the book with her in mind. And the book was more aimed at people. A lot of books out there about building confidence is fake it till you make it. And this book's absolutely not. It's find the good bits that you're happy with and build on them and take tiny steps and make sure that you congratulate yourself when you take a step. So that was book 2. And then book 3 in the Decoded series, I was going to do a self-publishing using AI to help other people to publish a book. But I think I was I'd done the outline, I got some chapters and stuff ready, and something just changed, and I thought, I'm sure I can help more people to write a book if I do some training than if I just do another book, because then people will read the book. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that and I'll do that and do nothing. So I thought, if I do some training and I get a school community and I do this podcast, every week it's reminding people and it's encouraging people. It's not just read it once, put it down. I put the book on the back burner and started the school community and recorded some trainings and stuff. And then obviously started the podcast as well, which was quite interesting. 6, 7 and 8, I did sort of a mini series. Now, if you want to make a start writing your book, not only in the school community is there a training program called Bloom. It's a Bloom system, and it's 5 videos. And if you go through the 5 videos, you absolutely get the blueprint for your book. It's different steps. It's, outlining and putting the chapters together and the introduction. So you can definitely make a start using that. But on the podcast, I did a mini series. I tried not to make it like a training course. I didn't want it to be a training session, but there are the prompts on there that I used for AI, and it is using AI. And I do get some, not me personally get criticism, but I do see a lot of criticism about using AI in writing a book. And even, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, I'm in a business WhatsApp group, and someone posted on there that they've got this new platform that you can write a book in 5 hours or something. And I'm like, no, that isn't what using AI is all about. You've still got to write the book yourself. The book's still got to be you. But what you do is you use the AI to do all the grunt work, I call it, the research, and you use it like a bit like a ghostwriter that you would, or you get them to do the outline and you bounce back and forth. So it's like having a little assistant, really, or someone to bounce ideas off, and that's how you use it. And the more information you put into your AI, whether it's Chat or Claude or whatever it is you're using, the more it understands your voice, and it can give you feedback and help and what have you in your own voice. So it's not way off pitch of what you actually want to say or do. So that was the mini series 6, 7 and 8. And then 9, Chris and I got back together again, and we talked about how, because writing a book isn't just about, people say, oh, if I write a book and publish it, no one's going to buy my book. But the first thing you have to do is write the book for yourself. It's not for publishing. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. It's something that you've always wanted to do. So you write the book for you. And if you're doing a memoir or you're doing, your life story or a part of your life, then you're writing it for you, you're writing it for your children, for your grandchildren, and that's your legacy. But the other thing that Chris and I sort of concentrate on it, and again, and this is a typical example of, is because I did the retirement book, I did the Ultimate Retirement Guidebook, and that was to help people to plan their retirement and things they could do and give them practical tips and information. And from that made me realise that I needed to write the Ultimate Retirement Workbook. Now, the workbook is in 2 parts, so you can write down what you want to do. So if you want to go and do salsa, if you want a bucket list of places you want to visit, anything like that, that goes in there. But there's also a very practical part where you write down who your insurance is with, what your doctor's called, or the phone numbers of the different companies that you use for anything and everything. Because now that things are more online, in the olden days, everyone used to have everything paper and they'd all had it filed away somewhere. But now your information's all over the place. I know mine is. Some's in a folder on my computer, some's in a folder, in my filing cabinet. And it's a place to put everything in one place so that all your little ducks are in a row for when you do go. Your family haven't got, I always describe it as a bit of a shit show to sort out because they're grieving anyway. They don't want to sort out all your stuff as well. So that's why I wrote the workbook. And from that, it went on to me talking about the late bloomer author. Obviously, I do want to help people to write a book, but it's not just the late bloomer author. From the YouTube channel I've got, the late bloomer author, it's also got a sort of subsection called the late bloomer living. And that's not just about writing a book when you retire or coming up to retirement. It's all the other things. It's about building your confidence, about talking to yourself nicely. And there's lots of parts of that. And I think for me, writing the books has taken me in such a different direction. Never in a gazillion years did I think I'd have a YouTube channel and a podcast. And it's funny today because I went to a family christening. And there was my ex-brother-in-law there and his wife. And he said, oh, what are you up to with your books these days? And I said, well, don't laugh, but I've got a podcast and I've got a YouTube channel. And there were members of my family that didn't even know because I've not told them, which is really funny because one of the posts that I did last week on the late bloomer living was an article I'd read in the Guardian newspaper. And they focused on 3 people in particular. And one of the people was called Nola. And she went back on stage as a stand-up comedian at 77. 77. She was like, right, I've done all this. Now I'm going to get back to what I really wanted to do. People love her. She's in front of crowds of like 500 people. And one of the things that she said, and this quote again comes back to what I've just said, is, don't tell anybody what you're doing because then they don't have time to talk you out of it. And that's exactly why I don't always tell people what I'm doing because, my God, what's you up to now? And it doesn't matter to them. It's nothing to do with them. It's what you want to do. And I can't tell you how important that is to just, instead of what everyone's expecting, you're expected to do this or this or this. Do what you want to do. Life is so short. You really have got to live and not have regrets. And when I've spoken to people in my sort of age group and said what regrets have they got, what would they do differently? And it's do what I wanted to do and not what others wanted me to do. It's go in a different direction. You don't live your life around other people's rules. So just bear that in mind. So for me, writing the books, it wasn't just about writing books and putting them on Amazon and seeing them sell and stuff, which they do. I mean, I'm not going to be rich from it. But it introduced me to this that I'm doing now, which is great, which is something I never thought I'd do. For Chris, he's written quite a few books. He's loving the journey that, again, he would never have thought that he would have done. And his last book was AI cybersecurity. He's an IT geek, as I call him. And he's a software consultant. He's a software architect. So for him, his business is all about AI security now, cybersecurity. And because the criminals are using AI to get into your computer, get into your business. So you've got to use AI to keep them out. So he's written this huge book on that. And again, that's something that he would never have thought that he would have done 12 months ago, 2 years ago, or even 6 months ago. No, maybe 12 months ago. But so it's not just about writing the book. It's not just about putting it on Amazon. It's not just about how many sales you get. It's all the other things as well that come with it. You know, there's so much you can do. You can use your book as a business card. You can use it as a lead magnet. So if you've got a business, you can, you know, if you come and do this, I don't know, have 10 sessions of this physiotherapy, or, you know, if you're a fitness person, have 10 of these and you get my free book. So you use it in that way. There's loads of different ways to use a book. And that's what episode 9 was all about. All the different angles, I think, that you can do when you start writing a book. And basically all the different reasons why you're not. What is actually stopping you from starting to write your book? And whatever it is, that's what we look at, and we can make sure that we do help you with that. Now I want to tell you about something that's changing, and I am really excited about this. So up until now, it's been me. So I've been solo host on the Late Bloomer Author, with Chris occasionally coming in, and I've really enjoyed it with Chris. I mean, you know, I know he's my husband, but I've enjoyed the back and forth. You know, I've enjoyed the banter, and I mean, he speaks so lovely. He's got such a nice voice, and he talks very calm and he explains things and what have you. And I've really enjoyed doing that. And I suppose it's made me feel a little bit sort of less as if I'm talking to myself on the screen like I am now. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to listen to other people. There's going to be other voices. So it's not just my story or Chris's story. There's loads of authors out there with a story. And again, there was an article that I saw yesterday. Oh, it might have been the day before, and it was on the New York Times, that there was an author had published his first book at sort of 62. And I'm like, there's no point at which you should say it's too late or I'm too old, because you're not. And it isn't, you know, whenever you want to start. And when I spoke earlier about the Guardian newspaper article, one of the other 3 people that was mentioned in the Guardian was this lady who is actually my guest next week. And her story is that she was born in South London, or she grew up in South London. And it was a place where, and she said quite openly, it's a place where people like her didn't become novelists. Because it would have been breaking the mold. It wasn't the thing to do in that time, in that place. So what she did is she channeled her creativity into a different direction because it was expected of her. I think it's a little bit like, you know, when you say to your child what you want to do. Oh, I want to play football, or I want to be an actor. And you're like, yeah, that's a nice hobby, but what are you going to do for work? And that was that. She sort of went sideways a little bit and channeled her creativity in different directions. And she did screenwriting because it was sort of a little bit safer, I think. But then what she did when she was 48, she took one of her plays that she'd done as a screenwriting and she turned it into a novel. It became her debut. She was a finalist in the Audible Crime Grant. So Audible produced her novel for her on Audible. And then she found an agent that did the paperback and the ebook. And now she writes a best-selling series for HarperCollins. 13 books she's written. Book 14 in the series out in September, and she's got a brand new series coming next year. So she's joining me next week. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I think it'll be a nice surprise. But she's very down to earth. You know, as I say, she just said it's not the thing to do is to be a novelist where I come from. So it was, I don't know, I think at one point she just said, I'm just going to go for this because it's what I want to do. And that's what you need to do. So what I want to do is I want to ask you something. Because the podcasts, I want it to now grow. And then I've got quite a few guests lined up that most are late bloomers that have written a book in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And there's a couple of other people that, they are authors, but they're on different platforms and things, and they've taken a different direction, a bit like I have. So what I'd like you to do is, I want to make sure that I'm asking the guests the right questions. I'd like to know what you would like me to ask. In the YouTube channel or on the podcast, if you can comment on there, or better still, go into the school community. It's the Late Bloomer Author School Community, and tell me what your biggest question would be to an author that started off later in life. If you want to know what was their biggest blocker, self-doubt is one of the biggest blockers, but there's lots of others. If you're wondering, or if you want to know how you can stop what it is that's blocking you, then ask the question. Just tell me what you would like to know. I'd love you to be involved, and I'd love to know that I'm asking the right questions so that you get back what you need from it. Because I don't want to just put my point of view or my questions and things. I want it to suit everybody so that everybody gets something from it. So ask the question, go into the school community, ask the question in there. I do read every comment that's in there. You can always just tag me just to make sure that I do see it. And also maybe some suggestions of who we could ask. I mean, my number one hit list would be Mel Robbins, but I think she's a bit busy. But never say never, watch this space. You just don't know. So going on from that then, what I would like to do is, I love Stephen Pressfield. He's a fabulous author. If ever you've read any of his books, or if you haven't, I do suggest you do. The message that he gives is my message. So that's why I use a lot of his quotes. So this week's quote is, I'll read this off here. Creativity is a gift. It doesn't come through if you're busy managing everyone else's opinion of you. Now just let that sit there for a minute. It's true. Everyone worries so much about what other people will think, what they'll say. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If you've got a creative streak, if you want to move on and do something that you've always wanted to do, then that's what you need to do. You have to just let your creativity flow. Just ignore everybody else. So my first guest is next week. The following week, I've got something else lined up for us, but I am really excited about this sort of slightly different twist, if you like. Well, not so much twist. I mean, I think when I first started the podcast, I always envisaged having guests, and I wanted people who have written books, and especially those that have had to have a little bit of a struggle, because it does, whenever you look at an author, or, whether they're non-fiction, whether they're fiction, they all started with one book. They've all got a story. Just listen to some of the famous authors out there. If you listen to their story of how they started, they didn't just write a book and someone come, oh yeah, I'll publish that for you, and then suddenly they were millionaires. It just doesn't work like that. So they all started somewhere, and that's what you've got to do. I can't wait to meet my guest. I can't wait for you to meet my guest. I'm sure you'll love her. She is funny. And I'll see you next week. In the meantime, get into the school community. Ask me some questions. And just remember, you're not too late. You're right on time. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. Join the school community. It's a free community. So the link's all over my social medias. You can find it on there, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think that's it. So you can find me somewhere. So the Late Bloomer Author, subscribe, come and join me, and I'd love to see you there. In the meantime, thank you very much for persevering through this 10 episodes. Again, I can't believe it's 10. It's just, it's just gone so fast, and I've loved it. So thank you very much.